Hey, this is Chad with Drawn and Cornered. It is December 7th, 2021, and here's the news that you need for today. First off, Mayor de Blasio in New York City has instituted a new mandate that will be going through effective on the 26th of December that all employees in the city have to be vaccinated. And I believe it's just one dose, at least have to have one dose, but they have to be vaccinated. All employees across the board have to be vaccinated. And he's doing this for two reasons. One, because of the new Omicron variant, and because New York City is stepping into winter where you obviously have a lot more enclosed indoor spaces where every virus is a lot more likely to spread. This is why we have flu season, cold season, all that sort of stuff. Once you get inside, closed doors, that's when these diseases tend to thrive and move about quite a bit. You've actually seen this all through the COVID issues when the South went indoors because it was getting too hot out, as we saw through the summer. So people spent a lot more time in tight, confined spaces indoors with the air conditioning on. COVID spikes. When we see the Northeast go into inside, we see COVID spikes. You're seeing this through the Midwest now as everybody's going back indoors. COVID spikes. It's going to happen. The interesting thing is he's also using Omicron, the new variant, which transmits better, supposedly, but is seemingly less lethal. There have been 0 hospitalizations in South Africa to this disease. It seems to be tamped down significantly, kind of the direction we expect viruses to go routinely, that they become less lethal, more transmissible, like the cold, like the flu. It's probably the direction that COVID's going to end up going. And the physician, the doctor that actually found Omicron, has said as much, that just don't freak out, don't go crazy. Doesn't seem like this is a big deal. Leave it to Mayor de Blasio and NYC to freak out and to go a little bit crazy. So the positive is we will get to see in real time what the effects are of this. Now, New York City is one of the areas where we have the biggest disparity by race of vaccination. I want to say it's something like 40% of blacks have not been vaccinated, have not received even a single dose in New York City. Many of those are employees. They will either be forced to get that vaccine or potentially lose their jobs, I think is what we're staring at here. So we will see in real time how interested people are in maintaining these rules in this top-down authoritarian COVID, anti-COVID measures for a disease that essentially at this point, if you are willing to get vaccinated, interested in getting vaccinated, because of the treatments that we have with the monoclonal antibodies and the new Pfizer drug that you can take once you get COVID, it seems COVID is essentially over if you want it to be with any sort of hospitalizations or death. Like, we can drop those numbers essentially to as near to 0 as we're going to get with this disease because of the medicine that is out there. If you choose not to do that, you're kind of playing at your own risk and you will suffer the consequences because of it. So it's interesting that this demand is coming out, and it'll be even more interesting to see whether or not people are willing to follow it, whether or not employers are willing to enforce it, and how that ends up working out. It will be a bellwether for the Biden administration's overarching OSHA mandate for employers with more than 100 employees, and whether or not that's going to be sustainable, or whether or not employers and employees will rebel against that type of idea. The other story that we have today is the Biden administration announced a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Olympics. China said specifically, if you do this, there will be repercussions. We don't know exactly what those are, but they announced yesterday that they will be diplomatically boycotting the Beijing Olympics. So they won't allow any dignitaries, any political figures, anybody like that won't be attending, which sends a message. I don't know exactly what message you're really sending. It's not an overall boycott. They're not taking the athletes out. They're not pulling the United States broadly, but just not allowing dignitaries to go there and participate in the games. So China may have an answer, they may not. We will see on that one. We're also seeing heightened tensions between Russia and Ukraine, and Russia seems like they're prepping for an invasion. The world at this point has done kind of a tisk-tisk type of thing towards them, with really no teeth or no notion that this is going to be anything other than a steamrolling. There has been no widespread support for the Ukraine, saying we've got your back, we're going to make sure this doesn't happen. It's probably going to happen, and the international response will be telling when it comes to how Putin is handled with this invasion. The last story that we have for you, which seems kind of strange, but the Justice Department just closed the case on Emmett Till. Emmett Till, I say it was 1955, was killed at the age of 14 years old for allegedly whistling at a white woman and touching her. Supposedly that's what happened. The white woman's husband and a friend took Emmett Till out, beat him savagely, and put a bullet in his head at 14 years old. It's an awful story. It was one of the impetuses for the civil rights movement moving forward. The two men were exonerated by an all-white, all-male jury in Mississippi at the time, where you kind of expect that they would have been let go by an all-white, all-male jury. Justice Department just came back and apparently said that there is no evidence that Emmett Till's accuser lied about the whistling and the touching, and nobody at any time sort of recanted or changed their story over history. Both of the murderers have long since been dead. All the people involved are either aging or dead, but it seems strange that the Justice Department would come forward and say essentially that the accuser was right. I don't know that it matters. Let's say he whistled and touched her. Should that be a death sentence? Nobody agrees with that. It's an absolute travesty that this happened, but for some reasons it's important to know whether or not he committed this act, which, granted, in Mississippi in 1955 is absolutely a death sentence, but shouldn't have been. And we can all agree that it shouldn't have been. And we can all agree that this was a terrible thing that happened. But the fact that we know that it definitely did happen now, or not definitely, but likely happened, nobody has changed their story. It's all essentially the same. Okay, so he whistled. Great. Still got murdered for it. So it just seems a strange story. It seems an odd time to come out, as race relations in this country are not great. Definitely better than they were in 1955, but with the issues we're having, this just seems like kind of throwing a little bit of gasoline onto the fire, and I don't specifically know why that would be done. But that's everything I have for you today. If you have any questions, comments, critiques, like to tell me I'm crazy, leave a comment down below. If you'd like this sort of thing with a little bit of news, a little bit of analysis, a bite-sized morsel for your day and all the news that you're going to need, definitely subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell so you get notifications every time we upload a new video, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We will see you on the weekends if anything big happens. Again, thank you for watching. This is Chad with Drawn and Cornered, and I will see you again tomorrow.